Random crits have always been a contentious debate whether to keep or not. There is a myriad of arguments on both sides, but the two main arguments come down to, it's not fun to randomly die, or they've always been here and they're funny. Both of these arguments are perfectly valid, but there's one thing that isn't accounted for: the classes themselves. Now some people might make jokes about crit rockets or stickies, but random crits affect different classes in different ways. Not all classes are created equal, and that means they are not affected by random crits the same. But how do random crits work exactly? Let's go look at the numbers. Random crits are not actually a flat number that is rolled from a dice. Instead, they are affected by how much damage you have done in the last 20 seconds. The damage is only affected by you directly dealing it, including sentries, and does not count crit damage and rounds it down to how much damage you would do without it. But why do random crits work like this? Let's ask the devs.
This helps create those rare high moments where a single player goes on a rampage and gets 3 or 4 kills in rapid succession.
Essentially, the rich get richer, so damage affects random crits, but by how much? Well, thankfully, the TF2 community already made a pretty useful graph to see how random crits are affected. As we see, the base crit rate for weapons is only 2%, or a 1 in 50 chance. The chance only gets higher marginally, with it capping after doing 800 damage for a 12 crit rate, or barely under a 1/8 chance. Melee crit chance, on the other end, starts at 15 crit rate, and this is going to get much worse, so those with the faint of heart, you might want to leave. By 200 damage, you have a little over a quarter chance to get a random crit. By 400, you're reaching over 1/3 of a chance. And with 800, man, this ain't good. This is over half a chance to insta-kill the enemy for just getting too close. And now that we know crit rates, let's look at how they affect the classes from the ones that benefit the least to the one that gets the most. Let's look at the one that suffers the most from this feature. Spy mains just can't catch a break. Not only they're playing the weakest class, not only is it made worse with spawnable hacks, but random crits also messed them up harder. Spy melee does not random crit, meaning it doesn't benefit from an absurd crit rate of melee weapons. The only weapon that can random crit on spies are revolvers, which only 2 of them can random crit, which can't kill in one hit with a crit, the only primary weapon outside the on-max that can. Not only that, but the classes spy counters are some of the classes that benefit the most from, but we'll get to that later. All I'm saying is join the cause, and together we can make spy mains have slightly better games. Now let's look at the classes that aren't so unfortunate. From the classes that aren't too affected in either way, we have Scout, and surprisingly, Medic. Yeah, I did expect it either. Medic mains are just lucky. Scout barely uses melee, his primary only does single target damage. However, he does do a lot of damage if you're good at the game. Inversely, Medic doesn't do that much damage, but he relies on his melee a lot for self-defense. And one class is the fastest in the game, and offers him the backlines half the time as the second fastest, so it's not too often they will be caught by a random melee crit. It's here we reach the end of classes being mildly or negatively affected by random crits. To absolutely no one's surprise, power classes benefit a lot from random crit, namely Pyro, Soldier, and Heavy. Why is this? Simple. Being able to wipe out entire crowds with ease. Crit rockets are so notoriously powerful and Valve made an achievement named for a common sentence yelled after getting killed by one. Pyro being decently fast and having an automatic weapon makes random crits incredibly strong in close quarters, and Heavy has the laser beam. However, none of these classes use their melee much. Although you could make an argument for Soldier, this means really benefit from the insane crit rate of melee. Plus, Soldier and Heavy have the lowest base speeds in the game. So yeah, Pyro, Heavy, and Soldier get big power boosts from random crits, but doesn't get the class's balance design is broken. And that brings us to our lucky winners. The two classes that come out on top in this random crit arm race is Engineer and Sniper. These classes have 3 main things in common that get them the best use out of this mechanic. 1, they are defensive powerhouses. 2, they can do a lot of damage without being in the enemy's effective range. And 3, they rely on their melee. A lot. These elements result in often getting high crit rates for their melee. And guess which class counters them at least against the melee range? That's right, our favorite Frenchman Spy. It's not very rare to sneak behind enemy lines, about to take down our turret of an Engineer or Sniper, only for them to turn around and kill you in one hit due to RNG. This fundamentally shifts the balance of classes for worse, as one of the typically worst classes in the game is now even worse. Both of these classes are defined by being weak if caught in close range or without your sentry, but now all you have to do is hit the enemy with a melee, flip a coin, and if heads, they die for no good reason over the game said so. So if you hate Sniper, you should advocate for the removal of random crits, as with them, one of his main weaknesses is completely negated. But no, taking away will remove the soul of the game, because that's why people love TF2 so much. It's because you can get cheap victories with melee crits. You even admit yourself that random crits break certain weapons, so instead of going through the hassle of checking which weapons are broken by its weakness, why not just remove it and save us all the headaches? Tangent aside, yeah, random crits break the delicate balance of the 9 classes. Wait a second, 9? Spy, Scout, Medic, Soldier, Pyro, Heavy, Sniper, Engineer. Those are 8, whatever. The last class is probably all that affected by random crits. Oh. Demoman gets completely broken by the addition of random crits. First of all, he has indisputably the highest DPS in the game. This means he will be at max crit rate very often, and all his weapons benefit from this heightened crit rate. His grenade launcher and sticky bomb launcher infamously have incredibly powerful crits, and give him the best crit start. Additionally, he get high risk-free damage with sticky bomb traps similarly to Sniper. He has 4 pipes and 8 stickies. He has a lot of opportunities to get a crit in a team fight. But that's enough about his strengths. Let's talk about his weaknesses. His 2 main weaknesses are him only having explosives and his long reloads. This means he is incredibly vulnerable at close range, meaning on paper, power would be his counter due to air blood. Well, with this in mind, Scout is often more effective against him. And guess what happens when you have the highest DPS in the game, as having a higher crit rate, your class being balanced by being bad at close range. You guessed it, Demoman's main weakness is partially negated. This is even worse when Demoman has no real counters, as he can easily outspam a Pyro or land 2 pipes on a Scout, and he can push, unlike Sniper, but that's a topic for another video. So if you've ever suspected Demoman get crits too often, here's your justification. The worst part about all of this? I've barely scratched the surface. There are a ton of unlocks that get broken by the addition of random crits that I don't have time to talk about. And you want to know an ironic part of this? 2 of the best stalemate breakers, Spy and Max, are the ones that get the least out of random crits, while the strongest offensive classes, Sniper, Edgy, and Demo, get the most out of it. So our argument that random crits help break stalemates is now a completely absurd statement that doesn't hold any merit. But let's get to the end. It's been a long-standing sentiment that random crits don't belong in any discussion about balance in TF2, but now I've decided to look into what it does. It makes the craze for random crits even worse. It's not impressive to get a kill streak through RNG, it helps experienced players learn new ones. It statistically favors defensive class that uphold stalemates, and it's a joke I've heard 1,000 times over. All these have been covered before, but now with this information, the answer is clear. Random crits must go. Well, I'll see you in the next SDGS video as my argument was portrayed as a soy wojak.